Welcome students. In this class I'm going to give you the reason why you should study convolution and why you should pay more attention in practicing the concept of convolution. I'm going to give you a story. The best way to illustrate any concept or to introduce any concept is through story. Now, there was once upon a time, long time ago, there was a king by name called Hannibal. Now, what Hannibal did was that, this is a legend. Of course, you might believe it or you might not believe it. It is up to you. As the great Nelson Mandela once said, wait until it happens. So, having mentioned that, there was this great king, Hannibal. Now, what he did is that he took a large army, a very large army, with horses and elephants. Right, I hope this is a horse and this is an elephant, right? So it's got a trunk. Okay, you have to visualize. I don't want to draw the elephant completely because that would prevent you from visualizing what an elephant looks like. Now, he took a large army with elephants to do what? He wanted to conquer Rome. Now, in those days, its reign was unimaginable. It had conquered maybe 70% of the known world in those times. Of course, prior to Rome, there was this great king called Alexander the Great, right? Alexander, you all know Alexander the Great, but anyway, I will tell the story of Alexander the Great on some other time. Okay, coming to this Mr. Hannibal. Hannibal took a large army with elephants and horses, and his intention was to conquer Rome. Now, the senates of Rome brought this matter onto the floor, right? So Rome was ruled by very important congregation of people and a group of people. Of course, at that time, to pass anything, even to mobilize an army, you need the approval from the Senate. Few of the senators, I should say, brought this matter before the Senate, saying that, look, there is this guy Hannibal who is trying to mobilize a huge army to conquer Rome. You know, most of the people, they laughed. You know what they said? Impossible. Between Rome and Hannibal, there stood what is called as Alps, right? A huge mountainous terrain. So what they did, they took the power of Hannibal too lightly. But nobody knew that Hannibal knew what is called as the law of convolution. Okay? He knew how to apply convolution. Now, the problem that we have here, why majority dislike mathematics? It has been found that a survey was conducted among a group of people, and 98% of the respondents said they disliked maths. Can you believe that? Now, the even more ironical component here is there was another subsequent survey was conducted among a group of people, and LCD was taught to them. And after that, a survey was conducted, and 98% of the respondents said they did not understand the concept of LCD. And more so alarming is that 99% of the respondents said they do not know the difference between LCD and LCM. This survey was conducted among school students, okay, and the report was published by a prominent educator. I cannot go into the details of these things. I'm just giving it as a reference for this particular introduction. The problem that they found is that in math education, as it goes, they said that whenever a person or a teacher or a tutor or a lecturer or a professor, no matter whoever it is, whenever they are introducing a concept, the most important priority, not according to me, but according to the research educators who published the paper, they said the thrust emphasis is placed only on how. How do you do this? How? It's always how. You have to understand the great Sun Tzu said, before you start with anything, explain why, not how. Explain why. Why are you doing this? So it's always the reason comes first. Reason. So you will have to reason it out. Why you are doing. So that's the reason I'm introducing the concept. Why convolution is very much important through the illustration of Hannibal. Okay, having made that point clear, let us go back to the story. So Hannibal is bringing his elephants, his horses, and a huge army to cross over the Alps. Guess what happens? Between Rome and Hannibal's victory, there stood a huge rock. We can call it as a boulder. Now you know, Boulder is a very large rock, and you cannot, horses, if possible, I'm not sure if horses can, but if they want, they can try. You can try to maneuver the horse over rocks. It is possible, but it is difficult. A lot of horses, they can break their legs. Once a horse breaks its leg, it's equivalent to being dead. It's gone. Elephants, impossible. They wouldn't even move. Now the point is, this rock is blocking Hannibal's victory and Rome. So nothing can move over. Now what did Hannibal do? He simply applies convolution. Now what does he do? You know what does he tells his soldiers? Look, we got large casks of wine, barrels of wine, and what he gives the following instruction. What is the instruction he gives? He says, now we need to pass over this boulder. I know this boulder is stopping us, and we cannot wait here because it is snowing and the temperature might be around minus 15 degrees or so, right? And you have to understand that you cannot simply keep a huge army on a standstill. Even if you are sieging, historically speaking, even if you are laying siege for a city or around a city, you cannot keep a standing army. That's it. You are ruining your entire army. This is not according to me. This is according to studies. I'm just merely quoting the research. And Hannibal knows this, so he tells his soldiers, look, we cannot have this army standing here, or we cannot go back. No retreat. There's no turning back. We have to go forward. Immediately all his Hannibal's generals, they started to laugh. How are you going to break this rock? This is a huge rock. This is a huge boulder. How are you going to do that? Now, this is where it is important. Though the problem seems huge and it is unimaginable to even to think that you can solve the problem, yet using mathematical concepts you can literally annihilate the problem, because everything that you can see here is mathematically solvable. Any problem, any real-time application that you might think of can be solved using the concept of mathematics. Apparently it is the individual sense and sensibility to apply that particular concept in solving that particular problem that has been daunting or that has been challenging. Okay, so much so for that. So Hannibal says, he gives the following instruction. He tells, look, you go into the closeness of this particular rock and you heap up firewood, right? You heap up firewood. Yeah, okay, firewood. Because in those days the army, they march with their provisions, and immediately the general says, so what are you talking, we got only a limited amount of firewood and you're asking us to place all the firewood. Immediately he said, do what I tell you to do, because I can see Rome, but the only thing that is blocking us from victory is this huge rock. Now you have to understand this important concept. Why was Hannibal so sure that he is going to conquer Rome? Is because Romans have never seen elephants in their lifetime. I'm not saying this is according to history. They have never seen elephants. Now if you would have seen these historic movies like King Arthur, there was this beautiful picturization about huge mammoth elephants destroying people like anything. So imagine one elephant, one beast like this, it would literally bring an entire battalion down. Because its power, it's so much stupendous in nature. That's the reason elephants were prized possession. And it is said Alexander ceded defeat on one of his expeditions to to India because of the presence of elephants, because his army never saw elephants. Okay, so much so for that historical detail. Coming back, Hannibal tells his generals heap up the firewood around this boulder. So he mentions one particular part of it, not around I would say not surrounding, because naturally the other side is not visible to them, right? So because it is being blocking, it's blocking the way, so the other part will not be visible. So what he does is that he said heap the firewood at this particular site and then set fire. What do you have to do? You got to set fire and then you wait. So the firewood, they burn, charcoals are created and heat is generated, heat is moved. Now the boulder is hot. It is hot. I don't know the temperature. Though it is minus 15 degrees centigrade, the heat generated from here was sufficient enough to keep the army warm. That is one part. Next, immediately what Hannibal says, after a considerable amount of eating this entire rock, he tells his generals, he tells his generals, bring out the wine, pour it on the rock. Immediately the generals, they say, what? You are asking us to empty our wine? That is what is keeping us warm. Because in those days wine is very priced. People sold gold to get wine. You have to understand that. Because making wine is not easy, and wine is considered as a resource, as an asset, and not only that, it's, as I told you, it's bartered on par with gold. So the general said, no, we are not going to do that. We are not going to be pouring the wine. Immediately the king, Hannibal, said, do what I say. So what they do, they pour the wine onto the rock. So the wine is actually poured onto the rock split. The rock split because of the reaction of the wine with the temperature and with the rock. The rock split. So the point what I'm trying to say is Hannibal used convolution. So in other words, how did Hannibal get this idea? In other words, why did Hannibal use the concept of convolution here? Because he has to break the rock, and only then he can move forward. Because it is important for Hannibal to push forward, and he has to conquer Rome. There's no way turning back, and convolution helps him. How does convolution help him? Simple. Even though you have a complex problem before you, a very complex in the sense very huge, convolution helps us to break the problem, to break it into manageable parts. That's the idea. And then solve it. That's the important thing. Now this is a huge rock. Definitely Hannibal would not have placed firewood all across the entire rock, because the rock is huge. So he would have definitely chosen a small part to really place the firewood and then increase the temperature. Now once the rock cracks even say 5%, definitely the other one you can literally blow it off with your axe. That's the idea, because the army that Hannibal had, they were very strong. So all you need is just one opening, just one crack. That's it. So the point is, any mathematical concept has to be related to a real-time illustration, and only then it becomes active. Because that is the reason Sun Tzu mentions, give the why first. Of course, this is history, and history continues, right? I'm not in a position to narrate what happens after that, but Hannibal's expedition definitely gains momentum, and then it pushes forward. But when you say convolution, so if you have two functions, say f star g, it can be two functions or many functions. No matter you have 10 functions, still you can break them into in terms of twos. So I'm going to say f star g of t. I can rewrite this as integral 0 to t f of t minus u times g of u times du. This is the way I can write it. And on the other hand, it's commutative. I can also write it like this, say integral 0 to t, instead of saying f of t minus u, I can f of t times g of t minus u. I can also use it like this. So it's commutative. So having given this reason, let's see some questions, students.